But now things start getting spicy. The sexy selfies, the phone sex, the hardcore sexting.
Oh God, really?
Oh my God.
Did
Do
we
I have to
see it?
say it?
Yeah.
Okay, don't look at me.
Oh no, I don't. Okay. What is it?
It's 3 sentences, okay?
Oh God, okay.
I crave you.
No!
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Well, now I'm looking right at you.
I will lick you until you swear your allegiance to my empire. I swear I can taste you right now. And I'm like, what even is this? Like, what is this?
No!
They say don't meet your heroes, but I did, and it worked out great. Welcome to Choose the Bear, where we celebrate extraordinary women doing incredible things. And this week, I got to speak to one of my favorite podcasters who has built an incredible podcast empire like nothing I've ever seen, Gillian Pensavalle. She is so incredibly nice and funny and smart, and she has pink hair, and she's just the best. And I'm fangirling. I can't help it. You're gonna love it. She had so much interesting stuff to say. You know, she covers true crime and has so many great thoughts and insights into true crime and the genre and why women particularly are so interested in true crime and what we can learn from true crime. But she also has a million great thoughts on so many other things. It was a great interview. You're gonna love it. Enjoy, and then go listen to True Crime Obsessed. All right, everyone. This is put everything down and pay attention. We have podcast royalty now on your screens or in your ears, depending on how you are consuming this. I hope if you're not listening to this or watching this on YouTube, you need to go to YouTube because our guest has magnificent pink hair that you must see.
Oh.
So you have to log on. I'm here with the absolutely incredible Gillian Pensavalle. Hello, thank you so much for being here.
Kat, thank you so much. When you were saying podcast royalty, I was like, I love that Kat calls herself that because that's how I feel about you. It's an honor to be here. You're so effing badass. So thank you so much. I'm so excited to chat with you.
I'm thrilled, and I always like to start with letting my guests just introduce themselves however they want to. So please tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Oh, sure. Hi. My name is Gillian Pensavalle, pronouns she, her, if that's something that you're interested in. I am a podcaster, and I'm just thrilled to be here. I like having conversations. So this is, I'm ready to go. I'm an open book.
I love it. Well, and that actually may partially answer my first question because we're going to talk about your podcast. You've got the poster for the Hamilcast there. You do a lot, and this is your career now. And like, why podcasting? How did you get into podcasting?
It's so funny because we're recording this in September. So you're on break right now. How's your break going, by the way?
It's going great. I'm interviewing a ton of awesome people and not stressing out about release dates. So it's like the best of podcasting without the worst.
Love. So I announced in August that after like 10 years and 500 episodes, I'm going to be wrapping up the Hamilcast. So it's been really exciting, and there's a lot of exciting stuff coming, but that's how I started podcasting. I hadn't really listened to a podcast. I have ADHD, so it's very hard to follow something that's not a visual medium. And in 2016, January of 2016, I had not seen Hamilton. I didn't know anything about podcasts, but I just had this drive I don't know what it was, Kat. Honestly, I was like, I want to make a podcast about this thing that I hadn't even seen. Because I fell in love with the album that was released on NPR in October of 2015. And I was talking about it and everyone's eyes were glazing over and no one really was like all that interested anymore. And I was like, well, maybe that's what a podcast is for. Right. So, I asked a friend of mine who I'd gotten back in touch with after, discovering on socials that we both were like in love with Hamilton. And then, we started this thing on my living room floor using a camcorder that, my husband, Mike, and I had used in a web series that we had created. That was the only microphone I had. So in January of 2016, I launched this I was like, I can edit video. Like I've edited, our web series and I edit like short form things. Like that's the same as a as podcast editing. No, it's not. But I was like, I have the muscle memory, but I still edit the Hamilcast in Final Cut because that's what I knew. And I was like, well, whatever, nobody cares. So I started that passion project that always remained when I never had ads. I never made money from the Hamilcast. It was all about like conversation and artists and, just having a good old time. And so that led me to meet Patrick Hines, who had a theater podcast at the time. I think he had two. He was doing Theater People, which was basically the Hamilcast, just like sitting down, but not like only Hamilton specific people or Hamilton related people, just theater people in general. So it's not just a clever name. And he was doing Broadway Backstory, which was so fun, like a deep dive sort of documentary style podcast about Broadway shows. And so we met that way, and then we became friends, and then we just started talking about true crime stuff. And one day I just said like, I asked my husband, we were living in a 400 square foot studio that didn't have any separation or any privacy like at all, and we had these French doors that like would never stay on the hinges. Like our toilet whistled if you put a pen on the floor, it would slide because the floors were slanted, like that kind of like very very like shitty fourth floor walk up, like bad. Like that time there was a mouse in my living room and my super was like, oh, I'm like a few blocks away, I don't want to come handle that. I was like, cool, so we're like besties now, like that. So but I said to Mike, I was like, I want to make this phone call, and like I think I want like privacy, like it felt like a big phone call. And I just called Patrick and I was like, hey, I want to do a true crime podcast. I want to do it with you. I don't know what it is, but like let's have this conversation. And then we started True Crime Obsessed, which ended up, we did a pilot episode about something else entirely. It was like 3, because Patrick had listened to all these podcasts and I hadn't. And so he had this vision of doing 3 separate segments of like kind of like a little more regimented as what we are now. And one of those segments was recapping The Imposter, this documentary called The Imposter that is wild. And so when he was listening back to it, he was like, oh, the other stuff, like this is what it is. And so then we started recapping true crime documentaries. This was before there was a new one every day and there was a new series every day. So we thought we'd do like the classics, the things that people really knew. And we had no idea that about 6 months after we started, the whole true crime media scene would sort of like explode. Then, I fell in love with podcasting from the Hamilcast, sitting on my living room floor and hosting all these people and having a great time. And then when Patrick and I got together and started TCO, it became a business, and it was really serious. I was bartending and had like 6 freelance jobs. And I was like, if we're going to do this, we both kind of came together. He had his daughter was very little at the time. We were both married, and we were like, if we're going to do this, like we have to really take it seriously as a business, even though we love unpacking these documentaries. And that was so much the basis of our friendship, going to happy hour and talking about, the things we had just watched or read or whatever. And that's when I was like, I love this medium. Like, can I do it? Like, what is that like? And so that's really how I got into it. That's the very long, but also very short version of how this all happened.
No, that's amazing. And you actually just said something that I think is really misunderstood by people who listen to podcasts and a lot of people who do podcasts, that they don't understand like what the difference is between putting out a cute little show once a week or actually building a business. Can you talk about like what that actually looks like?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Cause I did both of them for 10 years. So, the Hamilton, they both started with like, this is a fire I have that I've never really felt before that I really want to do and I really want to follow. So with the Hamilcast, I was kind of like, well, I don't know how to do any of this, but I'm just going to dive into the deepest end of the pool and kind of figure it out. And so, and like, that's why I'm so proud of the journey and like how the show has changed and grown over these 10 years. And, it's not what it used to be. Like my co-host ended up just sort of not being so into it anymore, and she had other things that she wanted to do, and we had a conversation that was kind of like, oh, okay, well, sort of the end of an era, but she wasn't interested, and I was like, well, it was sort of because when I texted her, I was like, look, I want to do this, all you have to do is come over and sit on my couch and talk about your favorite thing, I'll do everything else. So I was booking, I was editing, I was doing it all really anyway. So she had other things she wanted to focus on, and that's sort of how that story ended. But so doing that is very, very different than really having other, like ads. Like I didn't know anything about ads. Like how do you make money doing a podcast, like, oh, you need advertisers. Okay. And then what does that mean? And it's like, oh, you get paid per listen and per download, and what counts as a download. And then all the time, like Apple and all of these platforms are changing what counts as a download. And every time they change it, it's worse for the creator, meaning it's more difficult for something to count as a listen or as a whatever. So the business, sorry, I just shook my entire desk. So the business side of it was a major learning experience for me. And then as that goes on, more people become involved, and then you're working as a team, but then everyone sort of relies on each other. And it's great because I love doing that. I love working in like a team and feeling like, oh, like we've got this, like, yay. So that is very fun. But you just have to be aware, like for the Hamilcast, I could do whatever I want. I don't have ads. I can take, I didn't take weeks off ever, except for the last 2 Mondays of the year, but I could have if I wanted to. For me, it was just a thing. But like, you have a lot more freedom in a lot of ways when it's just like, oh, a fun thing, and like come over. And if I need some time and someone talks for 3 hours, that's 3 episodes, and that's a pretty nice cushion for me. Things like that. And with TCO, it's like, well, we have ads that we have to do because they bought this specific week, so it doesn't matter if we're away. Like if we go on vacation, like if we go on vacation, we have to say like we are both going to be out of town, or if Patrick's touring, or like we can't record this ad. So we have to say like, please send it to us before we're out of here. But for the most part, wherever we go, like we have to be able to record stuff. If someone like buys an ad last minute, like we got to do it. Things like that, if that makes sense.
It does. And I've been a very long time listener, lady paid at the 5 for a while. I should upgrade, but I run a nonprofit.
I'll send you a link.
You guys have built, not just a business, but a serious community. I mean, you guys have like 500 billion people on your like Discord and Facebook, and you're doing drag bingo, and you do like Obsessed Con. Like it's a real thing that very, very few. And really, if I think about it, I can't really think of any other individual podcast that really does that. There's sort of like full networks that have 1 million shows that maybe do what you guys do. But how have you built this really sort of empire that very, very few people, I'm always really stunned. I mean, you're totally like in my mind, my podcast mentor, because I'm just like, so amazed by how you guys have done this and what you build out. And I get the emails and I'm like, drag bingo, where's that coming from? And it must be going well because they're doing it every other day. Like there's so much. How did you guys build that?
Oh my God, Kat, you're so kind. Thank you so much. It's talking about this stuff is really hard sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I think part of the community is going through that together, and you're interested in it, but it's a little scary. And I think, and so I'm told that the podcast makes it a little bit more accessible, and it feels a little more like, okay, we're all sort of going through this together kind of feel. So I think, and also because podcasting is the most intimate medium you could possibly communicate through. And so there's a lot of like, it's just us here, we're in our headphones, or you're in your home, or people take us with them through. I mean, we get the most beautiful emails and DMs of, going through treatment for something, or when a loved one was going through something, and, the people saying you were with me through that thing. So it's a very intimate thing. So it's definitely a mutual situation. But we do things like drag bingo to sort of, which we do every month. And we don't gatekeep it. So it's at the very first level of Patreon. You don't have to do like the $20 level for drag bingo. But that's like a way to just sort of have some fun. Because the question we get asked the most is, how do you decompress? How do you separate from talking about or researching or watching these horrible things? And so one of those things that we kind of came up with was like, well, let's decompress together. If we're going to go through it together, it's really fun to also do those kinds of things together. So like our Discord, which is pretty new, which I love. I didn't know I would be a Discord girly, but I'm like super, super into it. I think it's so fun.
It's really fun. Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah. And what I love about it is that we can have like as many channels as we want. So some of the channels are, pet photos or, fun life milestones. And then of course there's like, episode discussion, Patreon discussion, this, suggestions, AMA stuff. But a lot of it is like people wanting to share with like-minded people things that they're going through, good, bad, indifferent. So I think so much of it is, and I learned this with Hamilton too, so early, like, you're one, oh, you too? Like your eyes sort of light up when someone gets a reference or just watched that thing you want to talk about. Because the through line is, because Hamilton is true crime, but the thing about it is that it can be a little isolating and a little bit lonely, which is weird to say, because Hamilton, especially when I started in 2016, was the biggest thing ever. True crime, it's a big it's a big category that people are into. It's a big, like, what is the word? My brain fog is so bad these days. I guess like it's a big thing that people are interested in. So it's weird. It might be weird for someone who's not in it to be like, how could that be isolating? But it's like, well, not everyone wants to talk about the latest documentary over dinner. But when you find someone who's like, did you just get my Hamilton reference? Did you just finish the lyric? Then you're like, oh my God. So, because that's how Patrick and I started. As going to happy hour, with I was married, he was married with a child, and it was at that point in your life where it's kind of like, are new friends easy to make? Are we gonna do that? And we were sort of like settled, for lack of a better term. We were like doing, our thing. And so when we had those like-minded conversations, first with like the arts and creative stuff, and then also like, oh my God, I had that same theory about that same thing. That's how that started with us. So I think that's what has sort of been permeating our episodes.
Well, and I think I've been listening to you for so long, I can't remember how I got started, but I think it was that I watched something insane and I was like, I need to know if anyone else is thinking this same thing. And I was like, I don't have a lot of friends who watch true crime docs, especially not at the level that I do. And like, I remember, and notice there are a lot of true crime docs, obviously, and there are a lot of people who talk about crime or documentaries, but they often don't do a ton of critical thinking or research. And I remember listening to you guys, and like everything, like every moment that had like driven me insane, you guys had the same comments that I had in my head, and I was just like, thank God I'm not alone, because I think she's lying too. And like even now, it's either like I'm watching The Mortician on HBO right now, and I'm like, I can't wait to find out what Gillian has to say about this guy.
Oh my God.
But it's I have a little respect for people who just truly have no remorse, because I'm like, you know what, you believe in what you did, and
like you're exactly, there's something, I agree, because so many people are like, what? I totally didn't. I know my DNA is all over the crime scene, but I wasn't there, and so there is something a little like, oh, this is like a different level of evil where you're just like,
it is,
I did,
or just like, I think I was right, and I think society is wrong, and I'm just like, I respect the authenticity, but I do feel that is something that you guys bring to the table, and where I think there's value in this sort of recap thing, right, is that we're all maybe watching something, but you do want to hear, like, what do other people think about this? Am I interpreting this the same way that other people are interpreting it? You guys do a lot of being like, I mean, you call everybody out all the time and be like, however she's saying something, like, no, she's lying and here's why, or whatever. And I'm like, oh, either I thought that, or, oh, I didn't think about that, but actually that makes sense. But like, it's so helpful, and it does feel like I'm in dialogue with you guys about these stories.
Oh, good.
And then you also tell me about stories that I'm like, I'm not watching that. I'll see what Patrick and Gillian have to say later.
No, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And it is just like, it really is just our opinions. Like I get a lot of DMs from people saying like how wrong I was about something, or I think people talk about critical thinking. Like I think sometimes people forget that like you don't have to agree with what I'm saying. It's just like how I received it and how I'm saying it back in sort of real time, in a conversation with a dear friend of mine, and now you guys are listening to it. So a lot of it is, I get a lot of reactions and responses to things that I say from people, and I'm like, I'm not, you can think something else. That's great. Like we can have a dialogue about it, but I think people sort of forget sometimes that it's just like, maybe my delivery makes my opinion sound like I think it's a fact, except the fact that Amy Bradley was not trafficked. I will not go back on that. That's just an impossibility. And the way they're presenting it right? The theory that they're presenting to me is not
the whole time I was watching that. I was like, this woman was not I mean, it's the same thing you were repeating. I was repeating in my head. That's not how trafficking works. That's not how any of this works. And like, these people didn't see her. That whole thing in the bathroom at the souvenir store didn't happen.
Right. Right. But Kat, you know what some people heard me say in their minds? I said that white women are never at risk at getting trafficked ever. And I was like, that's not what I said. I would never say that. I don't believe that.
You didn't remotely say that.
But that's what because, people are emotional about these things. It's sad and it's scary. And it's like, I think it brings up a lot of stuff in a lot of people, including me. I was out of my mind on those episodes because I couldn't believe how irresponsible Netflix was. And and people, the best compliment that I get from the Hamilcast and TCO, and the Hamilcast came first for me. So like my memory of it is getting emails from people all over the world saying like, no one at my school wants to talk to me about this, but I feel like I'm on your living room floor with you and I get to talk about this like great show that I also haven't seen, so we were kind of in it. The idea of being in it together is really comforting to me too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. One of the things that I notice in every single podcast that I've listened to for a very long time is that the longer the podcast goes on, the more the podcasters start preemptively apologizing or qualifying what they're about to say. Do you think that's just from the barrage of comments that come in that they've sort of learned to train themselves?
Yeah, I'm trying to train myself out of it because I think it's not a good habit to get into.
Yeah.
Like I think I've overcorrected major. And I think sometimes it's called for, sometimes it's not. And I need to sort of learn a little, I need to get a little clearer with myself about like when that needs to happen and when that doesn't. Because I do it way too much. And I do it in real life too now. Like I do it, which the podcast is real life, but I do it in conversation with people who won't like go out of their way to misunderstand what I'm saying. Like people who know me and see me and hear me for who I am. I'll do a preamble with them and I'm like, I got to get out of that habit. It's just not cool. And I think it's perpetuating this sort of like media literacy, critical thinking issue that we're having in society.
Yeah, well,
we
live in the age where, like, if you say on the internet, I love waffles, you'll get 800 comments. Some of us are allergic to waffles.
You hate pancakes.
What do you hate pancakes? Right, exactly. And it's just like you can't say anything. I think one good thing about having been an activist my whole life is I'm so used to everybody being mad at me and hating what I say that I just like my whole team and I, we've all been together for a very long time, and we're sort of at a point where we're like, my empathy is gone, cut them off. Like, I just, because, we get so many threats and stuff, but it's interesting that bleeds out because it is a consistent thing that I've noticed. And then, so one thing that I have also noticed, and I think this will be no surprise, is that of course women do it more. Do you find that you get more or worse or different types of comments than Patrick gets or other male podcasters?
Yes. I will get in trouble for things that he says.
Of course.
Like, I'll get the shitty DMs about it. Or, why did I let him say, and I'm like, he said what he said. And first of all, that you're going out of your way to misunderstand that too. Or whatever it was. But a lot of, they come to me for a lot of it, like they want me to be responsible and take accountability for this other thing that the man said. And I'm like, and the thing at all, right? So, and the thing too is like I've had wonderful conversations in my DMs and emails. I've gotten on Zooms with people to talk through stuff and whatever. And it's been an amazing learning experience just in general, watching all these stories and like I said, it's just my opinion. I'm wrong all the time. I kind of love being wrong because then I get to learn something. So that's great. So I'm it's not that I'm not open to it, but if you come at me like screaming at me or trying to hold me accountable for something somebody else said, it's like, well, you don't want to have a conversation. You just want to yell. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to have the conversation. I've apologized for things. I've taken things back. We've re-edited things. I've learned. I've changed how I discuss things, the words I use, and happy to do it. Cannot stress that enough. There's no ego here in terms of like the things I don't know. God, I don't know anything compared to what other, the world is enormous. So my experience is mine. And that's really all I can talk about with any certainty, things that happen to me, things that I'm feeling. But I do my best. And if I come up short, let's talk about it and I'll fix it. No problem.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. I've never like resisted that. But it all sort of, I can see it now after all these years from a mile away of like what someone's intentions are when they message me,
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Speaking of experience, I think it's really funny because you're both very New York, and then Patrick talks all the time about being from Cape Cod, but you both sometimes discover things like Patrick just discovered monsoon season, and I was like on the floor dying when he was talking about they have these afternoon rainstorms in Florida. I was like, yes, Patrick.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's monsoon season. And it's like so funny because sometimes you guys just like discover things, or someone will say something in a show and you'll both be like, I've never heard of this. And I'll be like, that's an everyday thing in Iowa or whatever. And it's like, it's so great because I think that we forget. Like, I've been to all 50 states, and that was like a real effort. Yeah, it's my best, proudest accomplishment.
Cool. That is awesome.
It is a thing I'm proudest of in life. But one of the things, like, and that was a real effort because this country is massive, and people forget that we have all of these regional differences. And it's really funny watching you guys watch like a documentary that's set in like the Appalachians or whatever, and like the experience is so different. And it just cracks me up all the time. The other day when Patrick discovered monsoon season, I was like, I just love these people. They're hilarious.
Thank you. Did you have a favorite state?
Oh, Alaska is the best state by far.
It's gorgeous, right?
Yeah, Alaska is so stunningly beautiful. It is the absolute best place in the world.
Have you watched Blood and Myth yet on Hulu?
No, I don't think I have. Hold on.
It just came out. It's really good and really interesting.
Oh,
but it takes...
I started it yesterday, and then my grandmother needed something and never got back to it. But it's about the native tribe and the murderer,
the Inuit,
Alaska. Yeah.
It's like the Inuits community up there, and it's just so stunning and so much about. It's like this town that has 350 people, and it's true crime, but it's also so much about their folklore and the storytellers and their elders. I just loved it, but the scenery of it is absolutely stunning, and it's so in Alaska. Beautiful. Yeah,
I stayed in an Inuit village for a week in Alaska, and it was so incredible. I had to bring all my own food because they do all their food shopping in September, and it has to survive for the whole winter. So I had to bring all my own food. TSA really freaked out at my blocks of cheese. They were like, what is this? I was like, dude, it's cheese.
TSA, it is precious cargo.
Right, it is the most important thing in this suitcase. But like, getting to like go down a river and see moose and like be in the middle of this like tiny little village. It was really incredible. It is
so cool.
Alaska is the best state by far.
So cool.
Yeah, I loved it. All right, so something else that you just said that made me think of something. So I just watched this LoveCon revenge show, which we don't have to get into. We'll see what you think about it. I think it could have been better made. But one of the things that I sort of, as I was thinking about this interview, and I was like, I've been watching true crime for so long. I've learned so much. And I'm always the one telling my friends, like, you didn't get a background check on this guy or like whatever. Like I'm just like immediately I see all the red flags. I'm picking things out. And one of the first things I noticed when I was watching the LoveCon Revenge thing is I was like, it is 2025. How are women still not doing background checks like immediately upon the first date, right? Like, what do you think that women can learn, or maybe that you've seen that we have learned or how things have changed from true crime that is helping us stay safer? Or could help us stay safer?
The LoveCon romance scam stuff can be hard to talk about sometimes, only in the sense where it's really sad to me that people when we're vulnerable or we're grieving or we're sad or we're going through it, that's when we are the biggest targets for these pieces of shit. Whether it's a relationship and, an abusive relationship, or, someone like when I was younger, I dated someone older for years and it was horrifying. And, my parents had like an intervention about it and tried to get me out of it, things like that. But, and I was just young, and I think when you're younger and they're older, that's always sort of a power imbalance in some way. It does. It's not. See, I'm about to do it right now, Kat. It's not always. If that's not your experience, then good for you. But sometimes it is. But and it's sad to me when sometimes these people don't want to see it. They don't want to do the background check because this person has presented everything that they want finally, after all the shit they've been through, or after everything that happened or whatever, like this is what they prayed for. This is what they asked the universe for. This is what they wanted. And if they do the background check and they find something that they don't want to find, then I think the feeling is, well, then I'm back to square one. And I think sometimes chasing the fantasy of it is part of the infatuation. That's what I've learned. I think
that makes a lot of sense.
I just want to say, like, you deserve to have it for real, and to keep your bank account intact.
Right. Or, I mean, my huge goal with this podcast is that I want women to realize that they are completely and totally enough within themselves.
Yes.
And I think that's a message that they don't get. And so often I see these things and I'm like I'm the one, I can't watch dating reality shows because I just yell at the TV, just be single. Like, why are you doing this? Just be single. And I can't do it anymore. I'm going to break my TV. And I feel this so often when I watch these types of shows. And I just think if these women just had gotten the message that they are completely fine with who they are and can have a completely joyful life alone, they wouldn't be in a position where these people can prey on them because they're so vulnerable and lonely or whatever. But we don't give women that message, and it opens us up to so many of these predators.
Yeah, I should have worn my Hex the Patriarchy shirt. Shit. Missed opportunity. But yeah, because I agree. I think it's so inherent in women to feel like your value is attached to, well, it happens all the time, right? Like I'm a big proponent of that Valentine's Day should be about anyone that you love. So whenever we do our calendar, right, for our Patreon at the 20. So every year we send you a calendar if you're at the $20 level of every month, like cute things. And we have an artist do like references from the show. And whenever we do, like, we send you stuff in the mail, anything that has to in February that might be related to Valentine's Day, I stress every time, I don't want it to be couple centric. I want it to be about love and chosen family or your best friend or whatever. So, but that is something that people are like, oh, right. Like, it's not something that people think about all the time because of the patriarchy or because of, or whatever we've done to brainwash women to think that like that's what value is. Yeah. And so, it's hard to see because you do want to say like you are it, like you've got this, but the patriarchy's fucked it like everything else.
Yeah, it's the message they're not getting in many places. That's why we're here. But the other thing that you do really well is you have this fantastic phrase, which I think should just be a life phrase, not a podcast phrase. Let the women do the work.
It's very misunderstood. That's another thing that's misunderstood.
How is that misunderstood?
People hate it that it's like, well, we do so much work. We do so much. It sounds to some people like a very antiquated 50s heteronormative kind of bad
I feel like
thing.
It wouldn't if they listened to the podcast.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Okay, again, critical thinking. I know. But because, so I'll let you explain it to folks. But for me, though, that whole phrase and everything that you point out about how it is women are doing the work, for me, that's like the other side, right? It's like, yes, we have the victims 90% of the time in these things are women, but also the heroes 99% of the time are women as well.
Right. So that came from frustration of, this situation where there's a woman so often being like, hi, it's that file over there. It's that one. And then the men in the room being like, no, it's not, idiot. And then her being like, no, but if you just looked, or like I did it, or like I did that, or like undoing things that, and it came out of me saying like, step aside and just let us do it. We'll do it in half the time. And then when it happens, when we see it in these documentaries, it ends up being true. Like, oh, thank God. Like when finally, like, you know, they do like the slate clap and like a woman sits down in episode 3 of something. It's like, oh, thank God. Finally, like, let her do it. Stay out of her way and let her do it. Or just don't actively try to get in the way just because, you know, it's the boys club or this is how it's always been done. It's like, okay, well, it's a 50-year-old unsolved murder. Can we try something a little different? Why are you so scared of letting a woman in to give that different perspective? You know, like what's the harm?
Yeah. Well, it's like I just watched the Netflix Long Island serial killer documentary, and sure enough, like halfway or 2/3 of the way through, they get the first female police commissioner, and all of a sudden they solve the case.
You know what I mean?
Decades. Yeah. Every time. And even I love the example that you pointed out in The Jinx, in which the only reason we have that moment of Durst confessing is because the woman who was editing it found that footage. And that's the only reason.
Yep. Like years later.
It's every time. Years later. Every time.
Yeah.
Which also illuminated because everyone was like, oh, he held this back instead of giving it to the cops for the show. And it's like, no, it took them years to find it.
Yeah.
They didn't know they had it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's always the case though. I mean, there was even, what was the one just recently, and the woman who had
Lady of the
been found
Dunes.
on the beach, Lady of the Dunes, and the woman who risked her entire career to solve this case.
Who got her career ripped away from her.
Ripped apart, yep.
Literally because of the patriarchy. And that's, I'm not making a joke, and I know people are sick and tired of that word, but there's no other reason. She was gay. Yep. She was new, like an outsider, not from here. Like we're still doing that, really? Yeah, and a woman, and they just thought like absolutely not. And we see it all the time. Like there are people. I've been screaming about this with the case of the West Memphis 3 or the West Memphis 6, right? Like the DNA has been sitting there, and it's finally at the lab, thank God. But it took a lot of fighting. And the thing is like, okay, so the police force in West Memphis, Arkansas was corrupt for a long time. Where's the new person who had nothing to do with those people? Why don't you want to be a hero? Why don't you want to just be the person who's like, wow, this was really shitty for 35 years, but I'm here now. Like even like in the most, cynical way. Just be the good guy. And she said to them, literally, you take all the credit. You don't even have to say my name. Like, take all the credit. And they were like, no. And we're also going to rip your job away from you. Like, why? Yeah. What are you so scared of? Like, what is the problem?
I always ask when I watch these things, like, why did you become a cop if you don't actually want to solve crimes?
I don't. And it's like a power move. It's like a weird.
It's like being a librarian, but you hate books. Like, what are you doing?
Like, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a weird, like, psychological thing. I'm sure there are studies by people much smarter than I am asking why, like, why aren't there more requirements to join a police force that include, like, racial history and misogyny or rape, like everything Dr. Ann Burgess was doing, like walking into the FBI and being like, hi, like rape is a real thing. Even if you're married, and we should listen to women and victims. Like, is that like, hi? And they literally laughed her out of the lecture hall until she fucking changed everything. And then I cried at her when we
another woman who
I was like, as a survivor, like, thank you so much. But yeah,
I know. It's another one of those things that won't surprise anyone except for people who have a cloak over their eyes about the reality of the world.
Right. And it's like, I think that's why, the thing that really, one of the things, not the one thing, as you know, Kat, like there are things that make me angry and there's not just one thing. But one of the things I hate is like, you hear some cop and it's like, well, I have a kid, so that the kid stuff really hurts. And I'm like, I don't understand what that whole thing of like men centering their experience, like, because I have a daughter, I have a sister, what does that matter? I don't have a kid and I still hurt when something happens. I still, can understand the pain of that. I don't understand.
Well, I'm sure you've heard of the study they did when they showed that when men look at women they don't know, the same parts of their brains light up as when they're looking at inanimate objects.
Right. Yes.
And so
yes.
I think it really is that unless they can directly relate it to someone they know enough that person is human to them, that they really can't see that person as a person. I was reading something and this woman was saying that she went with her dad, brother, someone to Hooters, and she could see like the way they changed as they learned that these women at Hooters had like names and personalities and lives and whatever, and they were like less and less attracted to them because they were people now. And that's not a thing that unless they have all of it. And that's like we've seen. And so I always think about that when I think like when men say like, oh, well, as a father of daughters and a husband. And I'm like, that is literally like biologically the only way that you can relate to this is you have to relate it to someone you know, or that's not actually a person.
Right. Like I'm thinking about Meredith, who was the woman in Lady of the Dunes. Like a man would never be like, no, take all the credit. We just have to get to the bottom of this. Like, so that's what I was saying when I started this specific topic of like, just our experiences in the world have forced us to be more thoughtful and caring and aware and feeling and empathetic. So,
and also to know how to get men to do things, because she knew the best way to get them to care was to say, well, but you'll get all the credit and awards.
Play to the ego. Right.
Because it was never going to be, let's just find the truth for this woman.
Never. Play to the ego. The best thing you can do is play to the ego and offer to erase yourself from it. Really. Like, and that still didn't work for her. Still didn't work.
But she did do it eventually, and I was so proud of her.
She's the coolest. Yeah.
Yes. So, all right. This is a really sad year for podcasting, I'm realizing, because Marc Maron is ending What the Fuck, which is devastating. I love that. He is the only person who truly understands me. He doesn't know that, but it's true. And you're ending the legendary Hamilcast.
Oh, you got to tell Marc Maron, though. I want that to happen for you.
Well, yeah, if I ever meet Marc Maron, I will let him know.
Get him on the pod.
To my soul.
No, he'll have free time.
That's actually, it's true. Mark, what else are you doing? Nothing. Do another season of Glow. You can't. They canceled it. I was devastated by that.
I know.
And you got nothing to do now.
You should get him on the pod. I think
I'm going to send Marc Maron an email now that you have a lot of time on your hands.
Kat, I am here to tell you.
Be on this podcast about women.
I am here.
You would have great thoughts.
To tell you, as someone who had Lin-Manuel Miranda in that shitty fourth floor walk up that I talked about from episode 1 of the Hamilcast, I was like, well, I'll just ask Lin when he comes over. And it happened, and he's been on more than once. I'm telling you, you can get Marc Maron on. I promise you. It is absolutely within your grasp. No question. I think you should do it.
We're going to strategize about this after we stop.
I would be happy. I'm not kidding. I would be happy to. We can do a Zoom. Me and you will figure it out. I'm not kidding. I really want that to happen.
Thrilled. We're going to do it. I love that, man. Yeah. But back to you, because there's going to be a huge gap in the podcast market. What are you doing next? And is it going to be a Mad Men podcast?
Look, I love talking about Mad Men so much. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's. I'm not. And truth be told, I'm not ending the Hamilcast because there's like some big thing on the horizon. Yeah. I feel like I've said this before, but if it's not like 10 years and 500 episodes is the only way, or else it's going to be 20 years and 1,000 and no in between. So, right. Like 11 years and 510 episodes. It's not the same ring to it. Yeah, so, and it, and after 10 years, it just feels right to me. And I've also said that I absolutely reserve the right to make, a random episode here and there. If Michelle Obama or Mariska Hargitay wants to come on and talk to me about whatever, like happily dropping random episodes here and there. So the feed will live forever. Like it's, it'll be like, I'm around. But I didn't end it because I have something on the horizon. So I'm going to see what's out there. I love that feeling of being like, I'm here. I love working. God, I love working so much. I used to be terrible at work-life balance. Now I think I'm really good at it. So I'm excited to have a little bit of a break and focus on TCO stuff. And then also like see what the world has. If the world wants the Mad Men podcast, I'm happy to do it. I love
All right,
that
well,
show.
you have one vote right here.
Okay, great. Yeah, look, I'll do it Columbo or whatever. I don't know. I don't know, but
wait, no, that's better. Columbo.
But I'm excited.
Columbo's the
to
only
see.
reason I have Peacock.
That app really needs a lot of work.
It's not great, but they have Columbo, so I'm like, I'll keep paying you, but like, fix yourself.
He's the best in the business. Doesn't need to carry a gun. He's taken all those like rich, privileged people down. Let's go.
Yeah. And
he loves dogs.
Because Columbo, if you are poor, Columbo does not care about your murder. Columbo only cares about the murders of the ultra wealthy, and I respect that. The man has a code.
Yeah, he does. He's like Omar Little. He has a code for sure from The Wire.
Oh my God, I love it. Gillian, we didn't even talk. We don't have to have a part 2 because I wanted to talk about so many other things. I have
more time. Do you have time? I have time.
I do. You want to keep going? Because I want to like dive into the whole child freeness.
Let's do it.
Because you talk all the time about and this is another place where I feel like you've learned to qualify, because you'll say something about kids and you'll be like, I know I'm not a mother. And so that made me think like that you probably got a lot of comments. So can you talk a little bit about why you've chosen to be so public about choosing to be child free and what your sort of responses to that have been?
Yeah, I've always, I guess wasn't born with that gene, really. It was never part of my plan. It wasn't really that big of a decision for me, if I'm being totally honest. It was just never anything that I wanted to do. I have, and again, I'm not comparing it, I promise. I love my dog. I love animals. I'm a very compassionate, empathetic person. I feel a lot. I feel that, but it was never a thing I wanted to do. I never had the craving for it. I never, so it wasn't like Mike and I sat down and we were like, so we just, even when we started dating, like we both had things like fun, creative things we wanted to do. And that was more important to us. It was never really like a conversation or, like, let's revisit this when we're X age or whatever. It was just not like a thing. Yeah. And so even my parents, thank God, never pushed me ever. It was never a conversation. And I remember a few years ago, we were all just sort of like sitting at the table and it came up because my mom, I guess I had said something or a video went out or whatever. And she asked about like feedback or, I don't know how, I really don't even remember how it came up, but I remember her saying that like, she just knew that it was never something that I was like interested in doing. So they never pushed me about it. Which I'm really insanely grateful for, that I've had horrifying things said to me by strangers or people that I've met for the first time or friends of friends about it, but never from my parents, which I know is incredibly rare as an only child, especially.
And I was going to say, I know you're an only child, and that especially. I was surprised growing up and finding out that there were women who got pressured to have kids and get married, because my family has always been like, my aunt, when I was very young, said the only good man is 80 years old and hooked up to a respirator. Like, my family was always like, don't get married, don't have kids, go to school.
Wow.
That was really rare. But what's been interesting is I have very rarely, if ever, had people say something negative about me not having kids. But usually when older women ask if I am married or don't have kids, and I say no, and they say, good, stay that way, like all the time.
It's definitely a conversation that has been happening more and more lately. Yes. And yeah, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Shit. That I wanted to always be child free. Fuck. People have said things like, I met somebody, and this was in a working environment. Like I was producing something, and this woman was a lot older than me. So I think sort of came from a different generation, and asked what I was doing after the thing. And I said, I'm just, I'm meeting my husband for dinner. First thing, do you have kids? And I said, no, we don't, which is number one. Like, I guess not that offensive, whatever. No, why not? Now, my first thing is like, what if I can't? What if I desperately wanted to and I couldn't? And that's a sensitive thing for me. But when I said to her, like, oh, we're just like, I don't know, we're like not really interested. Why? And I was like, well, also, again, we're in a professional setting. Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, it's just really not. And I tried to be like, oh, some more water, you know, like I was sort of whatever. And so I just sort of tried to stop it. And she was like, I really think you should. And I was like, well, I'm really not interested. And she said, I will never forget it. She was like, you think that now, but I promise you have them, you will learn to love them.
Jesus.
And I was like, I just learned a lot about you and your whole vibe.
Yeah.
And I get a lot like, but you'd be so good at it. And I'm like, you know what? I believe you. I agree. Like, I think I would be good at it. I'm a great dog mom. I know it's not the same. I would go to prison for Fiona. Like I would kill someone. And I'm told that that's the same thing, you know, with human people. But I just, it's not. And my thing with like the conversation is like, you never know what someone's dealing with. Thankfully, like I don't have any trauma attached to it. I just don't want to. And like, that has to be enough. But what if I was going through something really painful? Yeah. What if Mike and I had tried and we're going out to dinner to make ourselves feel better? What if I lost a baby? What if what if this whole like thing, like who the fuck are you to have any opinion and push anything on me? And also to say you'll learn to love them? Like, that's horrible.
It's a horrifying thing to say. Like that tells you so much.
Like, lady, this is your shit, man. This is like, we're at work right now. Like, what is going on?
Therapy, lady. Well, and it's interesting because of course we're seeing globally this just, you know, these drastic drops in childbirth, and everyone is freaking out about it except the people who don't want kids. And we're like, no, this makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, we're confused at why you're confused about why we don't want kids. Look at, you know, everything. Yeah. And especially for women. But do you, so I think though for me, what's interesting about you again is that you have this massive platform, and being a woman who chooses to be child free and the privacy of her own home is one thing, but when you put it out there to the world, what have you gotten different responses from that? What does that look like?
Yeah, I've gotten a ton, and it's so interesting because it was, again, wasn't like a conscious decision. I was just talking about my experience in the world and my life. So it's not, I never knew it was like being child free was a vibe and a hashtag. Like, I didn't know that it was kind of like a trend. Not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was just like, oh, I don't want to have kids. Like, I didn't know there were other people who like also vehemently didn't want them. And I was kind of like, oh, hey girls, like, awesome. And so when I was saying it, I didn't really know that it was such a like thing to talk about. It was just like, I don't have kids. I don't want them. I don't know. You know, I ask questions to my friends where I'm like, oh, how old is your kid? What should they be doing now? Like, is that, I don't know what it means. Like, should a 2-year-old be like talking in full, like, I just have no, that's not my experience. So I tend to ask a lot of questions about that. So yeah, it wasn't like a thing where it's like, oh, this is the episode where I think I'm going to like announce it. You know, it was just who I am. And the only child thing too, people, other than just like, you know, the stereotypes and the stigma, I get a lot of questions. People want to know what my childhood was like because I've had a lot of women ask me, they're like, well, we have one and I don't think I want a second one. Oh. Like, was your childhood weird? Like, is my kid going to be weird because they're an only child? And I'm like, well, I had a blast. I loved my childhood. I always say that's not where my trauma comes from. My trauma comes from like my sexual assaults and like stalking and bullying and all that shit. But like, you know, my childhood was great. And I love that it's sort of, I was independent and I liked what I liked, and I was artistic, and I always wanted to like make things for people. And that's what I spent. My mom and I like had a great life. My dad worked a lot. And so he would come home and we'd have like our little, you know, like the three of us. And I loved that. And to me, that's a family. To me and Mike and Fiona are a family. To me, just me and Mike were a family, you know? And so, I get a lot of that too. Like, is it like what, and women too, where it's like, well, why is one bad? Like, what is this?
I also like, have you never met an only child before? It's not a weird thing. We all
right. Like, I'm not a unicorn, man.
We all know only children. So like,
Yeah.
where did they all like come from an Amish compound where they had never met an only child before? That's so strange to me.
Yeah, I think they wanted I think sometimes when people ask me that, I think they just sort of want reassurance that
Mhm.
however they grew up or whatever they were told or whatever they thought they had to do is okay to not do. And I'm always happy
Yeah.
to tell people, do whatever you want. Don't hurt anybody, do whatever you want.
Right.
Be happy.
Yeah. I mean, these are the rules. Just don't
You
hurt
know,
anybody,
like, but
and
I
nobody
do get a
cares.
lot. I do get a lot of like, I have no right to have any opinion about anything at
Yeah.
all. I'm told often about any
Uh-huh.
parenting or um, anything about parenting or children. People get very upset about it, and I guess I understand. But again, it's only my opinion or my questions, or I'm really just asking
Well,
questions a
also,
lot, I
first of all,
think.
none of y'all are saying that to Oprah, and she doesn't have kids, and she gives you her opinions all the time. But also, I think that
Does she talk
there's
about parenthood and
I
children a
know
lot?
she used. I know she used to. I haven't paid
Okay.
attention to Oprah in a long time. Oprah has a
Okay.
long list of things she needs to personally apologize to me in America for before I pay attention to her again.
Wonderful.
But I know that
Heard.
she used to, right? But I think there's objectivity. Like I get a lot of. I don't date because why would I? Unfortunately, I'm straight. I don't know what I did wrong in a past life, but here I am. So I don't date, but I can give very good dating advice because I have watched objectively everything happen. And I have been in a trillion conversations. So and I can read people. So when I tell you get a background check or he's a serial killer or whatever, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
always right. And like
Always.
people are like, well, you can't say anything because you don't have kids or you don't date or whatever. It's like, no, we actually are the ones who like are observing and we don't have our emotions caught up in this.
Yeah.
And so we actually can sometimes give you objective advice that may be useful because you can't really see clearly because you're all in your feelings.
You're in it. Yeah. And we all do it. We all get blinders on. It's okay.
100%. Yep.
It's not,
Yep.
a critique necessarily. It's just some feedback. Not all
Mhm.
feedback is criticism. It's okay. And
Right.
anything I say is not really, again, it's not really about you. So if I talk about how I love my child's free life and that feels like an attack, that feels like
Yeah,
a
that's a
you
you problem.
thing.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything about you. I'm talking about my day to day, my
That's what's been
experience.
interesting about this whole sort of 4B choose the bear movement
Mm.
is the people who get so angry about it. And it's like, you are not angry because this individual woman is choosing to be single or not have kids. You are angry either because women generally are more independent and capable of taking care of themselves and you don't like that, or because you really hate your life and you need everyone to hate their lives in the same way
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't feel bad about it. Like there's something else, but it is not about like this one woman being like, I'm not going to get married. Like that's not
Right.
really what you're angry about.
Right. Like why? Like,
Right.
to reference it, like do the little kid thing, right? Like why? Just keep asking why. Go back. Let's
Mm-hmm.
reverse engineer what the feelings are about.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's not about us.
And it might be a really shitty thing, right? Like it might be what the background check that you don't want to see, which is like a very sad thing that I think happens, which is like, well, that's what I thought I had to do. And no one wants to feel, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. I understand if you have this life and you look around and you're like, where did I go? Because that is the thing that happens to women. The men get to do whatever they want for the most part. If it's not, doesn't apply to you, congratulations. But like, that's what I hear, the women being like, what happened to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
What, and that's why I love the Dr. Ann Burgess story too, because that was never, Patrick and I had this conversation on Mike, like, if it was a man, she would have not had to worry about like, well, I have kids. Like a lot of what she was saying in the documentary Mastermind was like, she had 3 young kids. She was a nurse. She was a professor. She was doing this. And like, how does she do both? And I've never heard a man wonder how they're going to do it all. And thankfully her husband was awesome and was like, girl, do it. And was never like, what, it's 5:01. Where's my dinner? Like so to see that and to tell that story, but she thought about it, and a man wouldn't wonder. The man would just like, it would all work out. He'd be the cat that, lands on his feet with the 9 lives, and like, we have to, especially as a mother, and I think I can speak to that because I've seen it, get lost or have to, like these men who are like, yeah, I'll help babysit. Sir, that's your child.
Your own children. Yes.
So it's things like that, phrases like that, that society and again the patriarchy have sort of made like commonplace that are very. If we take a minute and be like, he's not babysitting. You're not the mom is not babysitting. The mom's just like being a mom. And then it's like, oh my God, look at this amazing dad doing the bare fucking minimum. And people think like he's such a good dad.
Yeah.
Is he a good dad or is he just doing what he should? You know what I'm saying?
Is he just like happens to be in the room?
Right. Like you see those conversations sometimes.
Yeah.
And when
always.
you see that happen, you're just kind of like, oh, like woof.
Yeah. Well, and it's something that you see in every field. I do a lot of like political consulting and like work with a lot of candidates, and always female candidates like are going to be asked either you have kids, so what are you doing with them? How can you do this and have children? Or you don't have children, so you must be evil and probably a secret lesbian, right. And that's bad, right? And all these things, and it's like it's always. First of all, women can't win, right? No. Whether you have children or don't, and there are all these questions, but they never ask men that. And you see it. I mean, in the nonprofit space, it's a nightmare. And I've had funders. I had a funder look me in the face and tell me he couldn't donate because he didn't think a woman could run the organization that I had started and built and was running. And he just said that to me, and I was just like, "All right, we're done here." Like. They have no problem saying things like that all of the time in every field. And then, they wonder why women are angry and choosing to be single and child-free.
The way I am yelled at in my DMs about how angry I am, Kat, it's constant. And I'm like, yeah, am I mad at the rapist? I sure fucking am. Of course I am. What am I talking about? Like, right. Oh my God, like... I get a lot
I'm
of
sure
that. I'm too angry.
I'm in the middle right now of the first episode of I can't look at my phone. I'm the Mr. and Mrs. Murder. And I was like, oh, she's gonna get a lot of. First of all, duck is delicious. I highly recommend you try it. Duck is
okay, great. It doesn't appeal. It doesn't appeal to me at all. But I've heard it's great.
Yeah. And like go to Chinatown, have some crispy duck. It's delicious. Like, I love duck. But also. When you were making the kind of excellent point that like this guy, like sure, hunting seasons are short, but he's also just like gone every day for days on end. And you were like making the point about that. And I was like, oh, I bet some people are going to yell at her about this, but like he actually has parental responsibility. It's not like moms get to just spend 4 days not showing up. But he just leaves for 4 days or 5 days and then probably all 3 weeks of the winter hunting season. And it's just supposed to be okay. And I was like, of course you're mad about that. I'm sure people are going to be mad at you, but that's a thing to yell about.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is a guy who committed murder eventually. So if your husband, like if you're listening and your amazing husband who doesn't ever think he's babysitting his own children, goes hunting every day of duck season, amazing. You win. Great. That's amazing for you that you can't relate. But it's not my fault necessarily, or at all fucking actually, that this guy killed someone and he's an asshole. Like, we gotta play this tape through to the end. We gotta like, if it's not your circus and it's not your fucking monkey, then move on and be mad at this asshole who killed. Like what? Right. How is it suddenly about that? How is it suddenly not about that? Like, I don't, it's like, it feels so deliberate sometimes. Like, that's not what it's not what I said. You know that. It's the patriarchy having done its work so well that we now do the work for it. Kat, my God, yes, ouch, and yes, and ouch. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
Well, yeah, no, it is. All right. So before we close out, you've been doing this particularly sort of on the true crime side for a long time now. You've watched every true crime documentary ever made at this point.
Yeah.
What are some things that you have learned that you like lessons that you sort of carry with you that you've learned from doing this podcasting journey?
In terms of like safety?
Well, I started out thinking sort of in terms of safety, and then I was like, I don't know, you've done so much. You've probably learned a lot about partnership and a million things. So like,
Oh, sure.
whether it's in terms of, let's do like maybe a thing you've learned in terms of like safety and a thing you've learned in terms of like life and work. However you want to split it up.
Yeah, I've really learned the work-life balance is something I'm really proud of learning. I used to be really like insufferable, like, because it wasn't like a 9 to 5 job. I used to, a major part of my personality that I was sort of forcing on myself and everyone was like, like, what's a bank holiday? Like, oh, all these day, like, oh, you have Monday off. Like, that's not my life. And I have to work so hard. I'm working all the time. Like, it was really annoying. Even to me, like as I was doing it, and even on the Hamilcast, my friend Nick Walker, who I love, one of the many times he was on, he was like, can you stop that? Like, what is that? Like, what is that all about? And we had like a real conversation and I kept all of it in. And he was like, that's not like a thing and like no way to live. Right. Like, what is that? Like, let's unpack that. And we did. And then I was like, oh, and then, so now I'm really proud of the work-life balance. And guess what? Once I started not living like that, I still haven't missed a deadline. I still get everything done. Yes. Nothing went on, it was just sort of, if a little bit of like, if I don't have this, if I'm not doing this, like, who am I and what am I? And then I was like, oh, I'm a happier person who's at the dog park. Yeah. Like, that's what changed. Like, it's not just me saying default, like, no, can't do this, have to work. Like, why, you fucking loser? Like, go outside. Like, what is wrong with you? So that was, like, it's all going to get done. Like, no, we're not, like, I don't work for NASA. We're not curing cancer. Like, it's fine. Like, it's not that serious. And also being like, just like a woman in the business world and using fewer exclamation points in emails, which is a thing that I'm not making a joke about, and just say like, no is a complete sentence real. And boundaries have been a major part of this journey for me. Very huge part of it, I guess, like knowing what my boundaries are, knowing how to assert them, staying true to them, and sort of not allowing myself to be like steamrolled in this world, like I had I got like I was talking, I wrote an email to a lawyer about something that it was not like business, it was more like a lifestyle thing. And it was a very complicated thing that I had to communicate. And I know that sometimes my communication style is hard. There are a lot of moving parts. It just was better in an email, Kat. Things like, it's like a little too crazy. It's not a phone call kind of thing. Let me just write it out and then we can talk about the email. But like, there are a lot of moving parts, a lot of players. I just gotta. So the lawyer called me and Mike was here and he called me and he was much older and he said, so I got your little email.
Oh, Jesus.
And I said to Mike, I'm not talking to him again. So and then started asking me questions about the email. And I was like, well, it's in that little email that I took like an hour to write because it was an important thing. And I was trying to avoid all of this and your confusion. If you just he was like reading it to me in real time. I'm like, no, it's an excellently written email. I get it. I spent an hour on it, but I got your little email was like what radicalized you? Like a great many things, but I got your little email is for sure one of the things where I was like, oh, I'm just like not engaging with this. Like,
I've gotten that exact thing, and it's just immediately I just shut down. Yeah,
like, and now I'm done, and now we'll move on in a way that like makes me feel, like I'm not
like that moment when I'm like,
hoops.
oh, I'm never going to speak to you again.
And you did that. I tried.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Things like that.
We're done.
And it's so unnecessary. And like I heard the smirk over the phone, and I'm like, for what?
I'm always just like, you all have mothers. Do you all hate and disrespect your mothers? I'm so confused because you were also all raised by your mothers. Your dad is not a man who had like a very well dad who was all around and helping with the dishes and etc. So like I'm always so confused about like, do you not love your mom? I'm like, what is happening? How do you look at all women who are exactly like your mother and like somehow think we're all dumb and inferior, but you all have like
Right.
Everyone doesn't have a sibling. Everyone doesn't have a pet. Everyone doesn't have anything, but everyone has a mom. Mm-hmm. What are we doing? And it is one of the many things I'll never understand about men is like, how do you disrespect women so much when you have a mom?
Yeah. And like, would you say that in the documentary? Like, as a son of a mother, I really care about women. Like, what is that? Like, if you say it out loud, do you hear it back?
Right.
Like, I have this thing. Like, I have an inner monologue. Like, do you? Like, you know that like that red light means it's recording.
I learned from social media that some people don't, and that I don't understand. Is it just always quiet up there?
Say that again. There are people who don't
who don't have inner monologues. Yes, this is the thing I learned on TikTok. All of these people were like, "Wait, some people have like voices in their head," and everyone was like, "Yeah, an inner monologue." And there are people who don't have that, and I'm just like, "Are you a zombie?" Like, I don't understand it. Can you imagine?
So what happens when they think about something?
I don't
what
know.
is
I'm
thinking
not sure if
about something mean to, you know what I mean? Like,
I feel like they don't hear a voice, or they only hear it when they're actively thinking, but they don't always have things running through their heads. I have watched so many things on this and I don't understand it because I don't understand.
Okay, since our phones are listening, this is what's going to come on. That's going to be my first TikTok video on my For You page. So I will definitely learn all about it. That is wild. It must be so boring up there.
Can you imagine? How do you have ideas? If you're not just always thinking, then you're like, oh, that's a thing.
Right. Are you not talking? Sometimes my mouth is saying the thing that's in my head, like I'm mouthing it and I don't know it kind of thing. Like, no, is that, oh my God.
I don't know.
What's that like? I wonder.
It's horrible.
I'll never know. It's a madhouse up there for me. It is.
It will be dead and the voices will still be going.
Like, I take that ADHD medicine to just try to get on a little bit of an even playing field here. Like, what is going on?
I really cannot imagine it. Gillian, you're amazing. This has been the best. I cannot thank you enough for doing this. You're so great. I love the pod. Everyone listen to the final sad hours of the Hamilcast, and then go back and listen to the whole thing.
I got some big surprises coming everyone's way. So yeah, Kat, no, but really, thank you so much for all the work that you're doing, not just for your activism, obviously, of course, but like these conversations and giving space for that. Like, I think what you're doing is awesome. I am available. Call me anytime, not just for the Marc Maron thing, 'cause I'm going to keep you. I'm going to hold you to that. We will make it happen.
Mark,
but really, like, I'm always around. Like, I'm really like in awe of what you're doing. Thank you so much for all the work that we need you. Like, so thank you so much for doing it. I know it's a lot. Like, I know you have a lot going on, and I just such an honor to be able to chat with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that was a blast. Thank you so much, Gillian, for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. All of the links to True Crime Obsessed and all the things are below. Follow Gillian, subscribe to their pod. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe Choose the Bear. It will help us reach more women who need to hear from extraordinary women. And don't forget, everything you are is more than enough. See you later.